Shalom, I want to start off source by giving all praise to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushua, Bashem, Kodash, double honors to the apostles of GMS, and honors to you brothers doing the work of the Most High in truth and in sincerity. It's a quick one. I was watching some comedy, and the comedian basically spoke of like the quote Lobster revolt, where basically lobster went from being slave food to gourmet food, right? And this is it. So it's from Gizmodo, lobsters were once only fed to poor people and prisoners, right? So the surf and turf now costs an arm and a leg thanks to lobster's recent resurgence in popularity. But as David Foster Wallace's famous essay considered the lobster illustrated throughout colonial era America, the crustacean was considered among the least desirable foods one could put in their face, a garbage meat fit only for the indignant, indentured, and incarcerated, right? So these days, live lobster will go for easily $5 a pound, according to the main lobster industry, though they can easily spike 20% or more in a single season, as they did in 2012, climbing as high as $14, depending on how many fishermen can catch. I'm just trying to see if there's a date on when it actually started becoming mainstream. Okay, so it says, however, some folks were willing to give lobster a shot as far back as the 1850s. So this is going back, quite far. But yeah, you can read, the rest of that article. Don't want to waste your time because, for instance, we know that this ain't something you're supposed to eat, but this is something that is revered in, in Esau society, and this is one of the things that Jake started getting into as soon as they, you know start, being in Edomite circles, being around Edomites and doing what Edomites do, right? It's Jeremiah 2 and what was it, 32, right? It says, nope, Jeremiah 2, 33, right? Jeremiah 2:33, why trimmest thou thy waist to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways, right? And this is what one of the things that happens when Jake starts, being around these Edomites, right? These heathens, right? They start doing the things of the heathens, right? Jake hasn't really got a backbone. Jake is all about, fitting in and doing what everyone else around them do, right? And this is meats and foods and how food is eaten was one of those things. Name, you get an example being, eating the meat rare, right? Says Genesis 9 and 4 says, but flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall you not eat, right? So basically, if you eating the blood is the life of an animal. So when you're eating meat rare, that ain't right. But you ain't supposed to be doing that. But that is the Edomite thing to do, right? Such so that the scriptures, reference Esau as doing such a thing. Okay, so but that's once again, that's one of the things that Jake started doing when they start being in these Edomite circles, start going to steak and lobster, right? I remember one of the chicks I was dealing with way back when was like, oh, let's go to steak and lobster. I'll pay. I was like, I ain't going to no steak and lobster because what you go there, you get it. You what we can't eat lobster. That's going off, right? And you get the steak. The chef isn't gonna want to cook it well done. In his eyes, cooking it well done is ruining the steak. In his eyes, right? Notice I said that because it ain't. That's how it's supposed to be eaten. Okay, but hey, that's just the world we live in. This is Leviticus 11 and 9. It says, these shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, and the rivers, them shall ye eat. Right, so hey, that's and the Lord made it such, and in the clean meats and the unclean meats, the Lord made it such that you were able to identify. Okay, cool. You look at it, that's got fins. You feel it. It's got the fins. Yeah, it's got fins. Cool. It's got not feel it. It's got scales. Cool. And obviously you can see the fins. Like, okay, look, okay, I can eat that. Okay, it says, all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, that they shall be an abomination unto you. Okay, So basically, your crustaceans and your mollusks, right? So you ain't supposed to be eating mussels, you ain't supposed to be eating shrimp, right? You ain't supposed to be eating crab, you ain't supposed to be eating lobster, you ain't supposed to be eating any of that, right? If it hasn't got fins and if it hasn't got scales, then you ain't supposed to eat it, okay? But once again, this is the world that we live in when, things that are used to be what slave food basically, servant food is now something to be revered. This is Hosea 29:16. It says, surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. Right? So Esau's turned things upside down. Right? He's promoted things that really ain't supposed to be promoted at all. Right? These days that song with was it Biggie Smalls, and he speaks about something like I grew up eating sardines. Now I'm eating like crab or lobster. One of them ones. Obviously, he said it more poetically than that. Um, but he was basically saying, I made movements because I was eating sardines, but now I'm eating lobster. As if to say that was the right way. Nah, you've gone backwards, right? Because sardines, they're clean to eat. You can eat those, but lobster, you ain't supposed to be eating lobster, man. Right, as we read there, just not too long ago, this was just straight up, prison food, right? But let me carry on. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not, or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding. Right. So basically, then the scriptures go and give two examples of like, an inanimate object created by someone, basically turning back to the creator and then pretending as if the creator had no understanding of what they're doing. That's what Esau's doing when he's changing the laws and the ordinances, right? In fact, we can grab that as well, right? That's what basically essentially Esau is doing, right? Because he's saying, well, the most I said you shouldn't eat it, but fuck it, I'm going to promote it anyway, right? It's Isaiah 24:5. The earth also defiled under the inhabitants thereof, right? And one of these defilements is these bottom feeders have a purpose. Okay, when you look at the way the Lord has set up the seas and most of the world, the way the Lord has set everything up in its perfection and in balance, right? The Lord set up certain animals that are bottom feeders, right? And you will see that, we're watching a nature documentary in the bottom of the sea, and you see the time lapse of the different animals that will clean up let's say a whale dies and then its carcass falls to the sea floor. You see the time lapse of you'll get the certain eels that will come in first, and you'll get this animal that will come in afterwards, and then you'll get the different stages of animals that will come in and clean that from the bottom of this sea floor. But what does Esau do? He fishes all of them, right, and he markets it to the people as something to be desired, and then now people are eating it in mass, and that's creating an unbalance. Okay, is because they have transgressed the laws, right? And what's one of the laws? You ain't supposed to be taking them things out of the oceans to eat, man. Right? They have a purpose, and let them do, fulfill their purpose. Right? It says, change the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant. Right? And grab this also. This is Matthew 5:17. It says, think not I am come to destroy the law. All the prophets I'm not come to destroy but to fulfill. Because you get certain people that be like, oh, but that was back in then. You can eat that now. No, you can't eat that. I remember someone said this years ago. It's like, wait, so the Lord died on the cross so that you could eat lobster, so that you can eat pork. No, we ain't supposed to eat any of that. In fact, because I've not gone into it, when you read through Leviticus, the 11th chapter, it speaks about all of the different, meats that you can and you cannot eat, right? Which verse 7 goes into the swine. It says, and the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven footed, yet cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you, right? So, the standard that we keep, right, is we just look at the back of the packet and we say, okay, cool, has it got, does it say pork? Does it say gelatin? No, cool. That's it, right? Because really, when you look into it, this man being the devil, right? You start looking too deep into it, you find they ain't really you really can't eat anything, man, right? Because this man's defiled things, or you just be saying, okay, cool, I'll just eat, raw vegetables. But he has spliced, genes, right? He's just put eel DNA in certain, certain vegetables, man, right? So, so the standard that we keep, read the ingredients. You see pork, you see gelatin. Cool, I ain't eating that, right? Obviously, and the other unclean meats, I was just, using that as an example. So obviously you see oyster sauce or whatever, then obviously you don't eat that. The point basically being, what the apostle was saying is, start looking too deep into, what the ingredients are, you find you can't even eat anything, like real talk, right? Says Ezekiel 4:13 says, and the Lord Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. Right, so the Lord basically it made Ezekiel to eat. He first Isaiah was like, look, the Lord said to Ezekiel, eat man's dung, and Ezekiel was like, yo, Lord, can you fix up a thing? I ain't ever eaten man anything from that, right? And the Lord was like, cool, man, eat cow's dung, and that was representative of the fact that in these days we will be eating shit, right? And that is, the lives that we're living now, where we eat nasty things, right? Once again, that's why we just keep to the standard, right? Friends say, hey man, I remember like colleagues would always bring, whenever they'd go to the States, they'd always bring like chocolates and cookies, and I would never eat them because I'd look at the back and I'd be seeing GMO this, GMO that, and I'm just like, nah, I ain't even trying to, mess with that. And then the one time I did eat it, I felt, I'll be honest, I started feeling a bit funny, man. I started feeling a bit funny. It didn't taste right. It tasted like plastic, man. Well, it was just some chocolates, some Hershey's chocolates, and I was like, man, this shit doesn't taste right, man. Okay, so we can only imagine what the apostles and Archeum, the apostles, the elders, and the Archeum out there, are are going through, right? So we got these precepts here. Let's see. This is Sirach 15 and 20. It says, he hath commanded no man to do wickedly, neither hath he given any man license to sin. Yeah, so the Lord hasn't given anyone license to sin. They ain't no, oh no, I can, we can eat. Because you think about it, people might be like, oh, it's just a bit of meat. Nah, you eat that though. You going off, man. Right, especially if you're someone who's come into this truth and you understand, you read laws, and if you straight up eating a pork chop, man, you going off, man. You going off, man. You ain't supposed to be doing that no more. Right? Um, let's pick some out. Like John 14:15. If you love me, keep my commandments. Simples. Right? In Romans 3:31, do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid, yea, we establish the law, and this is it. This is a rehearsal, because in this kingdom there is no way, because it's a wicked kingdom. There is no way we're gonna keep these laws 100%. Right, as Judges 5:11, they that are delivered from the noise of the archers in the place of drawn waters, that place of drawn waters as representing slavery. Right, it says there. In fact, I believe it explains that. No, it doesn't. No, so drawn water, I think the precept to that is let me find it. This is Joshua 9:21. It says, and the princes said unto them, let them live, but let them be hewers of wood and drawers of water unto all the congregation, as the princes had promised them. And Joshua called for them, and he spake unto them, saying, wherefore have ye beguiled us? We are very far from you, when ye dwell among us. Now therefore ye are cursed, and there shall none of you be free from being bondmen, right? And hewers of wood and drawers of water for the house of my power, right? So they're proven, that's, that they're representing slavery, right? the drawing waters outright. It says, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord Yahweh, even the righteous acts toward the inhabitants of his villages in Israel. Then shall the people of Yahweh go down to the gates. Right, so this here is a rehearsal, and we're gonna keep it, right? But there are certain standards that we keep. One of them is, hey, we ain't eating no damn lobster, man. Right? If you eating lobster, man, you gotta stop that and you gotta repent, man. Right? Lobster, shrimp. I'll say read Leviticus the 11th chapter. Right? You gotta eat that meat well done. We eat that meat cooked. Right? So as always, Lord's what I was edifying. Till next time we say shalom.